TLC stands for The Learning Channel, and at this point it's hard to understand why the learning part is still there. The network's programming is so god-awful that it even puts reality shows from the United Kingdom to shame. Among the finest examples of Western civilization's cultural decline, we have shows like My Husband's Not Gay, Toddlers and Tiaras, and MILF Manor. Every now and then, on very rare occasions, TLC produces something actually educational and genuinely interesting. However, those shows are like pearls in a sea of sewage. 90 Day Fiancé is not one of those pearls. The entire premise follows international couples in which one partner receives a K-1 visa, allowing them to travel to the United States to marry their American soulmate. The 90 days in the title refers to the legal deadline. Once they arrive in the US, they have 90 days to get married or be sent back home. As you can probably guess, many of these relationships revolve around the same pattern. Older, often lonely Americans chasing younger, more attractive people from overseas, while those partners appear to be chasing a green card and a chance to escape poverty or other difficult circumstances in their own countries. In short, a match made in reality TV heaven.
You should watch your mouth. Don't touch her. Relax, man.
It was in this franchise that a man known as Big Ed first appeared and soon became famous not just on the show but across the entire network. His role was something of a living meme, a parody of a romantic lead whose behavior made him viral. Insecure, controlling, socially awkward, jealous, and frequently delusional about his relationships, it is truly astonishing to witness someone whose outside looks so perfectly match the person they are on the inside. His original appearance was supposed to be a brief, rocky romance with a girlfriend from the Philippines which ended in a predictable breakup. But his presence turned out to be a goldmine for the producers, because TLC realized people couldn't stop watching this trainwreck of a person. And so, the network kept perpetuating his story like there was no tomorrow, which only made him more famous, or dare I say, infamous, since that spotlight also highlighted the depravity of his behavior, along with a few skeletons he probably hoped would stay in the closet. At this point, let's step back and ask ourselves, who is Big Ed really? And more importantly, what does he represent? At the start of 2020, Season 4 of 90 Day Fiancé aired, and it was here that we got our first look at Edward Allen Brown, a 54-year-old professional photographer from San Diego who found love online with a woman named Rose who lives in the Philippines. First things first, the most obviously uncanny feature about Ed, his almost non-existent neck, comes from Klippel-Feil syndrome, a rare congenital condition where two neck vertebrae are fused. Standing at only 4'11", he gave himself the nickname Big Ed to feel bigger, and that's the name everyone knows him by and the one I'll keep using throughout this video. But aside from his unique appearance, there were a lot of bizarre facts about Ed and his life that made him somewhat of a laughingstock from the very beginning. For instance, the most infamous scene, one that basically cemented his early internet reputation, was him putting mayonnaise in his hair because, according to him, it makes it smoother or something like that.
So I found out that mayonnaise makes it smoother and less dry.
Needless to say, it was weird as fuck, but on another, more serious note, Ed had been married in the past, but that marriage ended because he cheated on his wife, and like many people in that situation, he described his behavior as a mistake, which somehow rubs me the wrong way. Next, he starts talking about his girlfriend overseas, Rose, whom he met online. Just taking a quick glance at these two, you can easily conclude it was her personality that Ed was attracted to.
My girlfriend is Rosemarie. She's 23 years old, and she lives in the Philippines. One day I'm online on social media. I'm scrolling through, adding friends, and I come across Rosemarie's picture, and I'm like, oh my God.
The more disturbing aspect of this relationship is the fact that Rose is 5 years younger than Ed's own daughter. There's a lot to unpack in that statement alone, but I think you can already understand the uncomfortable situation. While we are on the topic, Rose herself fits the profile of many people on this show who are romantic interests of Americans. She lives with her family, including her son, in what can only be described as a rat-infested home with a leaking roof and electricity that goes out at random. Many of the packages that Big Ed is trying to send her don't even arrive thanks to the logistical issues and the general chaos of living in a third world environment. So you can probably imagine the incoming catastrophe when one of the first things Ed does on the show is fly out to the Philippines to finally meet his girlfriend, and from that moment on the show gets only more absurd.
So this is real pinch me. Pinch me. It was just like an out-of-body experience for me, because for 3 months, I FaceTime with her, and now I'm standing in front of her, and I really want to kiss Rose. I really do.
Needless to say, the first meeting between the two was beyond awkward. From the moment Ed arrived, things just went off the rails. One of the earliest moments of pure second-hand embarrassment came when Ed tried to dodge the conversation about his height. That is because he lied to Rose, telling her he was 5'2", when in reality he was 4'11".
That you...
Am I what you expected? Do you like?
I expected yours told to me.
I thought if I told you I was the same height, maybe I would have a chance.
So when they finally met face to face, she was visibly surprised by just how short he really was. But that was only the beginning, because next came the part no amount of editing could save, going to Rose's home.
Half of the houses don't have windows. It's pretty much open. I'm not looking forward to it. Will this roof hold? It's not going to come down, no?
No.
It's not exactly surprising that Ed was uncomfortable, and in all honesty I think most people would be. Rose and her family live in extremely poor conditions and are just doing their best to get by. She doesn't have much, but she appreciates what little she has. You can't really blame Ed for being out of his depth. It's not a lifestyle most Westerners could easily understand, but you can absolutely question what the hell was he thinking when he decided to make this trip, and how he didn't expect something like this to happen.
It was hot. I survived.
You survived?
Yeah,
You're not comfortable last night?
No, I didn't sleep at all.
Watching him squirm through these conditions as he was trying to get some rest was honestly painful. After one grueling night of rain, thunder and a roof that leaked like a broken faucet, Ed didn't sleep a minute. By morning, he was practically begging Rose for them to go to a hotel. She did agree, but not before a quick visit to her father's pig farm. And this is where the cringe hit new levels. In true Ed fashion, the man showed up to a pig farm in the Philippines wearing sneakers that he wrapped in plastic bags. It was so slippery that he fell on his ass multiple times. It almost makes you wonder why he didn't brought boots or work clothes or anything even remotely practical. I can only imagine what Rose's father was thinking, watching this immobile piece of shit dating his daughter while struggling to do even the most basic tasks around the farm. After that little disaster, the long-awaited hotel stay finally happened, and that's where we truly started to see what Ed really thinks of Rose and this whole relationship. When he booked the hotel room, he immediately asked for separate beds. Later, when Rose asked why, he told her it was so that she'd feel more comfortable and that he wanted to take things slow.
Why you want 2 beds?
Because I want to take it slow.
Okay, you're so sweet.
Yeah, I want you to feel comfortable.
You could say he whispered sweet nothings into her ear, because in reality he wasn't planning on doing anything with her until she took an STD test.
I want nothing more than to be intimate with Rose right now, but I'm not really comfortable doing that yet. I still know nothing about her past, so I'm not planning on having sex with Rose until she takes an STD test.
Good job, Ed. That was really slick. And you just gotta love how he packaged this whole situation like he was doing it for her. The mental gymnastics were already on an Olympic level, and it's still nothing when compared to the things to come. After a painfully awkward and sweaty shopping trip, it was finally time for Big Ed to break the good news to Rose during their romantic dinner. She reacted exactly how any sane person would react when their boyfriend suddenly asks them to take an STD test.
No, yeah, it's a test for I don't know if you understand it. It's STD, which is I think it's a blood test, and they just test to see if you have like sexually transmitted disease.
You want to test me. I feel you would not trust me. So I feel offended.
This marks the first, but definitely not the last fight between our two lovers. They eventually made up the next morning over coffee, and Rose soon found out what it truly means to give someone like Ed a second chance. But for the moment, it was time to get down to business.
Last night we made love. It was awesome. Let's put it this way, I'm not only on cloud 9, but I can't wait to do it again.
Not even one day after their reconciliation, Big Ed already had a fresh list of demands for the woman he supposedly loves. And yes, I did say the word demands because that's exactly how he delivers them, like he's checking maintenance issues off of a clipboard.
Last night when I noticed that your legs were kind of like mine, they were hairy.
What?
Yeah. Leg hair, it just seems kind of less feminine for a woman. So I don't like leg hair. It's gross.
The way he talks to her doesn't come off as someone speaking to their future partner. It comes off like someone trying to tame a wild animal to suit their needs. If you think that I'm overreaching, think again, because this pattern of behavior never goes away. It's constant, you see it throughout the entire show. And since you're watching this video, I'm guessing you already know who Big Ed is, and you've probably already seen this cringe-inducing moment.
What do you see?
I see what I like.
Later, during the meeting with Rose's family members, we are reminded once again how dissatisfied Ed is with their living conditions. And then there's the other uncomfortable moment, the real elephant in the room. Back when Ed was still in the US, one of Rose's sisters reached out to him asking for money to save her shop. Naturally, it was beyond weird, and Ed had no idea what to make of it, especially considering that he wasn't even sure if Rose herself was involved in this. It was exactly at this point that I couldn't help but notice that in this world there are entire communist countries with fewer red flags than this relationship. So why was this charade still happening was beyond me. Well, okay, it wasn't entirely beyond me. Everybody involved has something to gain, but let's be honest, I wouldn't call this a romantic relationship by any stretch of the imagination. What followed was a little vacation for our two stars, a trip to the Palawan Island, and this is where everything finally went even more sour than it already was, which is insane considering that the bar was already underground. And just like clockwork, the morning after, one of these lovebirds managed to nuke the entire mood with their behavior. Care to guess which one it was?
So, I got some surprises for you.
Really?
Can I show you?
Sure.
Big Ed opens the day with "I have some surprises for you," but unfortunately for Rose, he forgot to mention that these weren't the good kind of surprises. First, he whips out a bathing suit and lingerie, which immediately freaks Rose out. So I'm just wondering, is this what Big Ed meant when he said he wanted to take things slow?
I want to take it slow.
Oh right, I completely forgot. That statement was a total lie because he only said it to dodge intimacy with his loving girlfriend because of fear that she might be infested with AIDS due to unprotected sex with various strangers. But hold your horses, because the worst surprise is still coming.
I got a couple more things.
Sure.
Okay, so this is mouthwash. And I got you a cute toothbrush. One of the first things I noticed, even at the airport, was her breath, but I didn't know how to bring it up. And I don't think she realizes it, but I do.
Next, he gives her a toothbrush, toothpaste and mouthwash because he noticed her bad breath. And as always, he tries to package this whole situation like he's doing something for her. He's just a loving partner concerned about her dental hygiene.
My concern is your health, because if you get disease in your mouth, it goes to your heart. You can get sick.
Here, it is revealed that Rose has an ulcer, meaning her bad breath comes from her stomach, not her teeth. The whole thing becomes unreal when you step back and think about it. A young, attractive woman gives an overweight, 50-year-old man a chance and he turns around and acts like she's the disgusting one. Big Ed has an almost supernatural ability to make any moment extremely uncomfortable. It's like he's allergic to social cues. He scans a situation, identifies the worst possible thing to say and then says it with 100% confidence. Just look how he tries to organize a nice dinner. First, he tells the hotel staff to give them the best table, and I'm guessing this would be accompanied by some great food. When the pair arrived, they seem to be in good mood and everything is looking great. And then, before they even start eating, he decides to bring up the topic of Rose's sister asking him for money. To say that this destroyed the mood would be putting it mildly.
When I was in San Diego, your sister Maria asked me for money, for help, but also asked me not to tell you. So, did you know about that?
I don't know.
You didn't know anything about that?
No.
I wasn't sure if you were involved, but you're telling me you're not.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I believe you. Okay, I believe you.
Really?
Your sister made me doubt you, but no more.
So, after everything that's been said and done, is Big Ed finally satisfied now? After the bad breath embarrassment, the hairy legs request, and now the whole relatives asking for money saga, are all the grievances finally behind us?
Oh my God, here I'm thinking we're in a good place, and now she brings up having more children. But I've been planning on getting a vasectomy, and I don't know how to tell her.
Fuck you and your stupid fucking head! This is not a mistake! This is not an accident, you fucking retard! You did this on purpose! I talked to you before you went in! I fucking hate you! Fuck you! All the time and effort into this fucking show to help you guys out, and you can't do the simplest task! I fucking hate you! I hate you! I hate you!
The inability to read the room, the talent for making a bad situation even worse, the uncanny instinct to say the absolute worst thing at the worst possible time. Whenever they manage to resolve one issue, Big Ed has another one already waiting in the backstage, ready to march out and ruin the day. The next morning, the pair once again tries to enjoy themselves, but of course that doesn't last long, because we're treated to yet another painfully awkward conversation where Ed would admit that he doesn't want more kids. Looking at this from the side, this does seem like a logical option. After all, he's 54 years old and he already raised one child, but Rose obviously wants more kids considering she's in her early 20s. The clash of interests here isn't even subtle, which begs the question, why wasn't this obvious issue discussed before going to the fucking Philippines? Despite that, after everything that's happened, Rose has given Ed way too many chances to get his shit together. She even asks if he'd reconsider his stance, trying to meet him halfway, but by now she really should have realized that there is no halfway with Ed. It's either his way or the highway. There are only ever demands that need to be met. Maybe this was finally the moment she realized there is no point in continuing this relationship. These two people live in completely different realities. It's not like they have little in common, they have nothing in common. Half of these horrible situations could have been avoided if Big Ed had simply been honest from the start. Instead, he dragged this girl along, brought her on a vacation, and then decided to drop this bombshell only after they'd been together for a few days. In the end, this issue wasn't something that could be fixed, and Rose eventually breaks up with him, laying everything out on the table, basically saying what every viewer was thinking.
So, I'm disappointed because you always embraced me. You think I want your money, not you. You give me feel a little bit person. I think you not love me. I'm done.
When Big Ed realized she's actually gone, his reaction is pure desperation. In actuality, you can't help but wonder why is he even surprised. When everything is said and done, he's been nothing but a terrible boyfriend, no compromise and definitely no self-awareness. There was never a timeline where this relationship was going to work. Not one. Ever. Ed eventually went back home and had a heart-to-heart talk with his daughter, the same daughter who warned him from the beginning that this entire situation was a disaster waiting to happen. But did he listen? Of course not. I guess you could say that things ended on a somewhat positive note. Or maybe not, I don't know at this point. It's hard to call anything positive when the whole mess could have been avoided if basic common sense was used. Either way, this marks the end of the very first chapter in Big Ed's story. Just another person on 90 Day Fiancé trying and failing miserably to find love overseas. He wasn't the first, and he sure as hell wasn't the last, but his behavior combined with his entire appearance launched him into online fame. On YouTube, Ed exploded in popularity. Many big creators started reacting to his shenanigans, most notably the infamous moment where he slathers mayonnaise into his hair like he's marinating himself for a barbecue.
So I have been dyeing my hair and...
You've been dyeing your hair? With mayonnaise?
Before long, everyone and their dog was talking about him, and here's the important part. At this stage, Ed wasn't really hated in the literal sense. Yeah, people were annoyed by his manipulative behavior, but most viewers were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. They were willing to believe he was just socially awkward, maybe insecure, maybe clueless, but not malicious. Ed himself took advantage of this attention as well. He appeared with multiple YouTubers, including on the H3H3 podcast.
I just do naturally I do dumb things, like you saw in the video with, vacuuming the cookies, and there's 1,000 different ones. Anyway, so...
There, he talked about being bullied in high school for his appearance, his insecurities and other personal struggles, along with behind the scenes of filming 90 Day Fiancé. Even before appearing on the show, Big Ed already had a brand that he was desperately trying to promote, and I mean desperately. The most obvious example is that ridiculous cartoon picture of his own face, the one that he slaps on literally everything he owns. His shirt, his Instagram, stickers on his luggage, and he even has it tattooed on his leg. The amount of effort he puts into promoting this one goofy caricature of himself is insane. He was clearly an interesting character, and despite many, many faults we couldn't ignore, people still wanted to see more. Big Ed was more than ready to take advantage of his newfound fame. The man squeezed every possible drop of monetization out of the situation. You could say that clout chasing was his full-time job. He became more active on his YouTube channel, doing random stuff like mukbang videos, because nothing says content like watching Big Ed inhale hot wings on camera.
Asian women age like a bottle of wine, and they're sweet.
He started a Twitch account that went absolutely nowhere, and of course he tried selling his merch, plastered with that goofy picture of his own face. But his biggest and most successful grift came in April of 2020 when he joined Cameo. If you don't know what Cameo is, it's a website where fans can pay celebrities and other celebrities to record personalized video messages.
Walt, I don't know, man. You've been seeming sus lately. It's almost like we have an imposter among us.
By the end of the year, Big Ed was one of the highest paid people on the entire platform. The dude was charging anywhere from $70 for a personalized video to $400 for a private Zoom call. It's estimated that by mid-2021, he'd earned over $100,000 on Cameo alone. Big Ed had officially figured out how to turn cringe into cash. Even TLC realized that they couldn't let their golden goose waddle away, so they invited him for a reunion-style talk show segment, and yes, it was exactly as awkward as you're imagining, maybe worse.
So Rose, I got a vasectomy. I had it done. I had to ice my balls for like a week.
Eventually, he was brought back for 90 Day The Single Life, a spin-off show that follows former 90 Day Fiancé cast members as they attempt to re-enter the dating world after their previous relationships collapsed. And this is where Ed would find his next victim, the person who will become very important for the rest of this video. What ends up happening to this poor woman is beyond sad.
I'm about to ask my friend Liz out on a date. I've had a crush on Liz for about 2 months. She's a totally hot waitress manager. She's 28 years old.
This is Liz Woods, a 28-year-old single mother working as a waitress and a manager in a restaurant, someone who, unfortunately, would soon find herself in the clutches of this fine gentleman. Liz and Ed had known each other for a few months before he finally asked her out. She reluctantly agreed to a brunch date the next morning, not realizing how this one decision would impact her life for years to come. The date went as well as you'd expect, a whole lot of nothing. I mean, what do a 55-year-old man and a 28-year-old single mom really have in common? Despite that, they still agreed to meet each other again. Their second date was a yoga session, but not before Ed decided to get weird again. He shaved his chest hair for the occasion and even his mom helped him do it.
Can you pick up my ponytail? I'm taking the hair off my chest and my back.
What for?
Because it's gross.
You're a man.
I genuinely don't know why he insists on doing shit like this in front of a camera. It's almost like he wants people to make fun of him online. This second date was them just doing some bizarre goat yoga class where goats just wander around interrupting people mid-exercise like confused toddlers. After surviving that circus, the two shared some private conversation with a bottle of wine, and this is where Liz would open up about her life. She works non-stop while trying to raise her daughter, not to mention that she's already been through 2 divorces.
It does worry me though, with the whole age thing or something, like all those problems that came with like Rose would come up again, so.
Age is just a number.
Age is only a number, Luigi. Yeah, you know what else the number? What?
I don't
know.
exactly believe in that.
This is someone who clearly has a lot on their plate and more than anything needs some stability in life. And the fact that she crossed paths with Ed of all people makes it more tragic than anything. If you think I'm being too harsh, let's just look at what happened next. Their third date takes place at his house, and Ed, being Ed, starts making creepy little comments like how he hopes to get Liz into the bathtub by the end of the night.
I mean, I might as well just go for it. And maybe I can get Liz in the hot tub by the end of tonight.
Keep in mind, they've only been on a few dates and she has repeatedly told him she wants to take it slow and maybe just stay friends for now because she isn't sure what she wants. She says this again that very night, but nevertheless, Big Ed still goes in for a forced kiss while saying goodbye.
Cool.
Thank
Awesome.
you. You can't do that.
Why not? I kissed your nose.
No.
Too soon?
That kind of pushed me back.
One of the most uncomfortable, inappropriate moments I have seen in reality TV. It's almost crazy how Ed manages to be confused and disappointed by this reaction.
I moved too fast. She doesn't want a romantic relationship. I think she sees me as a friend.
In what universe was doing something like this a good idea? Watching this from the outside, anyone could see the end to this union before it even began. This man blew every chance he had and then made a completely inappropriate move, and Liz was clearly upset about it in her interview segment afterward.
Expect that?
No, I did not expect that. I think I made it very clear on where I stood when we were talking. I didn't want anything to ruin our friendship before progressing forward. I really thought we were on the same page. I feel like I've been nothing but honest, so I was shocked.
On top of that, Big Ed found himself having a bit of an episode. You see, sometime after their disaster of a date, he stopped by the restaurant where Liz was working and saw her having drinks with another man. For whatever reason, he felt the need to confront her about it in the most direct way possible the very next time they met. In the end, it turned out to be nothing, just a co-worker she regularly hangs out with, but Big A's reaction was wildly confrontational, especially considering the fact that they weren't even officially a couple yet.
I saw you together, and then I kind of came over to say hi, but I felt kind of like I was interrupting.
He's my good friend as a guy friend, and there's nothing between us.
Okay, hold on one second. And then I saw you guys walk into your car one night.
He walks me all the time to the parking
But
garage.
I think he likes you. I mean, who wouldn't? Liz was out with girlfriends on a girls' night out, and by coincidence ran into her ex-husband. I have this insecurity with her that she might go back to her ex because I think she has in the past. So I basically accused her of still being in contact with him, which was not the right thing to do. It wasn't her fault.
The jealousy, the insecurity, the entitlement, all of it was already bubbling to the surface. Looking back, this moment was just a small glimpse of the kind of person Ed really is, and a preview of how much worse his behavior would get as time went on. Somehow, despite all these warning signs, they still continued seeing each other. This is the point where a lot of viewers started theorizing that Liz had been getting paid by the network to stick around. I mean, after everything we just talked about, what other explanation could there possibly be? But now that we know the full story, we know that wasn't the case at all, which makes the whole thing even more tragic. This brings us to the hotel room episode, where the pair went to a wedding together, and this is where they kind of cemented their relationship, if you can even call it that.
Thank you for being in my life. I love it. Your lips really taste good.
I don't know what the fuck these two people talk about when in private, but from what we are shown, their dynamic is just always off. That very same night, as they are lying in bed, he says that he loves her. Then, as if realizing mid-sentence that he screwed up, he backtracks with the second worst thing he could have said. I'm kidding.
Too soon for that.
I'm just kidding.
I also really liked how the morning after all he could talk about was how he and Liz made love in the most uncanny way possible.
Did you guys have sex?
Okay, so yeah, I mean we made love all night.
I get that producers are probably pushing him for more details, but Jesus Christ, at least try to show some restraint. Without missing a beat, he asks if he can introduce her as his girlfriend at the wedding. Despite knowing he always rushes his relationships, and despite somehow getting insanely lucky that Liz was even giving him a time of day to begin with, he still insists on slamming the gas pedal to the floor. At this point, this man is like a gift that keeps on giving, just a never-ending stream of awkwardness and bad decisions. The only person paying the price for this behavior is unfortunately Liz. After attending the wedding, we can pretty safely say this marks the point where they officially became a couple. And in true Ed fashion, barely 2 weeks into dating, he decides it's the perfect time to fly to Las Vegas so his brand new girlfriend can meet his daughter Tiffany, who, by the way, is 3 years older than Liz. Naturally, Liz herself is not exactly comfortable with this setup, and she makes her feelings very clear.
You're gonna meet the daughter.
The daughter. I don't know. I don't know what to think or expect. It's just faster than what I would have imagined. That's also a little nerve-wracking, being the same age. So.
You know, the age, for me, it's a number.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
And so, despite every red flag waving violently in the desert wind, we still get this cursed meeting that nobody asked for. Very soon, one thing becomes painfully obvious. His daughter is not someone you would consider a pleasant person. If anything, she comes off unbearably judgmental and confrontational.
And I actually feel like he could kind of calm me down and loosen up in a lot of aspects. So.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know, like, doesn't make it any more, more comfortable,
No,
but
I'm sorry.
My concern with being younger is you're at one phase in your life and he's winding down somewhat on his. Like,
I'm
you're
not winding down, what do you mean?
To be clear, I'm not talking about her being upset that her father is dating someone practically her age. Anyone with a functioning brain would find that weird. What I mean is the way she treats Liz, almost like this entire comedy skit is her fault. Meanwhile, Big Ed is absolutely no help in diffusing the situation. If anything, he's sitting there making it worse by saying absolute horseshit for some reason.
But I was telling her that you guys are like the same.
I'm gonna say that weirds me out. That's just awkward as fuck.
It's moments like these that make you forget that Liz is the youngest person in the room just by looking at her mature behavior. The way she calmly handles Tiffany's loaded questions is admirable. It makes you wonder why the hell she's even hanging around these people. But the worst part wasn't even caught on camera. After filming had wrapped up, the three of them went out to enjoy the Vegas nightlife. Tiffany invited one of her friends and together they openly mocked Liz for dating a man so much older than her. This would hurt her so much that even Ed immediately sensed something was wrong, but instead of giving her space, he kept pushing her to open up, even after she clearly told him not to.
And then at the club, I heard Tiffany and the comments the friend was saying, giggling, chatting, can't you just find someone your age? I was sitting right next to her. It was very disrespectful.
Despite her boundaries, he kept poking and prodding at the issue until she finally got so upset that she booked a flight the next morning and left by herself, leaving her caring boyfriend alone in the apartment. Big Ed's reaction to this whole situation gives us a perfect demonstration as to why this man desperately needs to understand how relationships work, and more importantly, why he really should date someone closer to his own age.
Sitting in this hotel room, all by myself, I felt like I was back in the Philippines when Rose and I broke up.
First of all, when reflecting on Liz leaving him alone in Vegas, he immediately draws parallels to the Philippines and Rose, something he actually does quite often. In his mind, every conflict is seen as, this reminds me of when someone I loved hurt me, and never, not once, maybe my behavior contributed to this. He gives himself zero accountability, which is tragic considering that every major problem in the two relationships we've seen on TV has been caused by him and only him, yet somehow our star never manages to reflect on any of it. And because he never self-reflects, he never improves. He just keeps repeating the same mistakes like he's stuck in a time loop. Whatever the case may be, the next logical step was to patch things over, so Ed invited Liz to his house again, because that went so incredibly well the last time. This meeting was supposed to be about clearing the air after the disaster in Vegas. Talking about Tiffany, talking about communication, talking about anything that might help them function like normal couple for 5 minutes.
So when I get upset, I don't use this, I use this. And what you do is you pull back. And because you shut down, it made me feel like I thought you were mad at me, but I couldn't shut up, I couldn't let it go. And I paid the price,
Unfortunately, Big Ed still has absolutely no idea when to speak and when to shut up. And that inability, that complete lack of timing and awareness is probably the biggest reason Liz walked out on him in Vegas to begin with. Let me just get something off my chest here. I know that I'm sounding like a broken clock throughout this video. I keep bringing up the same flaws, the same mistakes, the same painfully predictable behavior. I am seriously trying not to recycle points I already made, but the problem is, Big Ed repeats the same pattern so consistently that I can't help but comment on them again. He is like a malfunctioning robot that is repeating the same broken instructions over and over, and nothing proves that more than what comes next. So the two lovebirds decided to ease the tension between them by having a romantic dinner, and by ease the tension I mean Big Ed decides to say quite possibly the worst, weirdest, most insane line he could possibly pull out of his ass.
You were born the same week my divorce was finalized. So for me, I'm like, you're here for a reason.
I'm not entirely sure what the actual fuck was going through his socially incompetent mind when he said that. In what universe does he think that sounded romantic? I'm staggered every time I watch this clip and I've seen it at least 10 times. The most frustrating part is, Liz falls for it again. She buys into his sweet talk, his wounded puppy routine, and by the end of the night, they end up renewing their relationship like nothing happened. This really is just a slow motion car crash that will only end in tragedy. Fast forward 3 weeks later and the pair decided to spend some time relaxing at the beach. This was the moment I actually started to feel disturbed, because now even Liz was carrying Big Ed themed promotional merchandise on her drinking cup. Of course, we also have Ed himself enjoying the scenery a little too much, so much in fact that he once again decided to ruin the moment.
I want my home to be our home. And I want to ask you to move in.
This is especially ridiculous considering she already told him multiple times that he moves way too fast, but apparently that didn't stop him from doing it again. After a long, awkward pause, broken only by Liz's hesitation attempts to get him to back off and rethink the question, she eventually agreed. There really isn't much more to add here, it's the same pressure-filled behavior we've came to expect from our main star, and this basically wraps up the season 1 of this spin-off reality TV show. You'd think this would finally be it, that Big Ed had actually managed to land himself a serious stable relationship, but contrary to what some optimistic viewers hoped for, things were far from perfect. This brings us to the reunion episode for the season, and surprise surprise, both Big Ed and Liz appeared on stage only to reveal that they had broken up about a month prior.
We broke up.
You broke up?
Yeah.
We broke up a month ago today. Ed loves to rush our relationship. When we finally became a couple, the next week I was meeting his daughter, the next week I was meeting his sister, his brother.
Naturally, the big question on everyone's mind was what actually happened. What you have to understand is that everything we saw on camera was only the tip of the iceberg. The behind-the-scenes reality of their relationship was probably far worse than what we saw. The reason I say this is because a lot of dirty laundry was being aired during this segment of the show. For example, Tiffany revealed that Big Ed and Liz had broken up and gotten back together around 7 times, which basically says everything you need to know about this situation.
How many times did they break up over the course of the relationship?
7.
I don't know, 6 or 7 times.
Wow, okay.
Keep in mind, I'm not even sure they had been dating for more than half a year at that point. Everyone and their dog could see that this relationship needed to be put to rest once and for all. The cycle was completely unstable, and let's be real, Big Ed was the root cause of every single one of these problems, and it's not even close. From everything we saw, it's easy to conclude that him being controlling, extremely pushy and manipulative were just a few of the more obvious reasons behind their breakup, reasons that became crystal clear the more two of them talked about their connection.
He would tell me all the time that it wouldn't work out between us. And it scared me that I would lose him.
We moved way too fast. Like she didn't have a chance. Our relationship didn't have a chance. 29 years that I had somebody that was interested in me.
I especially love how this buffoon tried to emotionally manipulate the audience and everyone in the studio with his forced theatrical crying about their breakup. But in reality, just 2 days after ending things, he blocked Liz on social media and went to Las Vegas to party with his sugar babies.
You blocked me and went to Vegas.
Are you saying that Ed was hanging out with other women?
I didn't expect to be dumped and then him be out in Vegas living the life.
How soon after you guys broke up did you know he was hanging out in Vegas?
Like 2 days.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
2 days.
Damn, bro.
Wow.
You sound like a piece of shit that would make me blush. And that's saying something. You're tricking Liz here. You gave her all this crap while you're all having fun with all the sugar babies. What the fuck is she supposed to do?
As you can probably imagine, everyone in the room became openly hostile towards him the moment this came out. What made things even more ridiculous was that earlier that very same day, before the show started, Big Ed came to one of the contestants and told her that one of her roommates was really pretty. Basically, just a few minutes before he went on stage and pretended to cry over Liz, he was already flirting with another woman. From that point on, for the rest of the reunion episode, absolutely everyone was clowning on him. Even when other contestants were being discussed, people still somehow found a way to circle back to Big Ed and give him the well-deserved roasting.
I think it's time for Colt to get off the nipple, and you need to stop fighting.
Oh, fuck you. Oh, my God.
Fuck
you.
Thank you very
You get
much.
off the nipple. Why don't you go find somebody your own age instead of this precious little girl here you're trying to...
After everything was said and done, Big Ed ended up in an even worse position than his last TV appearance, especially in the court of public opinion. This is a man who constantly whines about wanting love, wanting companionship, wanting someone to spend his life with, yet all of his actions show the complete opposite. Big Ed doesn't actually want a relationship. What he wants is attention. He wants the thrill of dating someone much younger, the ego boost that comes with it, and the fantasy of being desired. But at the same time, he wants none of the responsibility or emotional maturity that a real relationship requires. Just to really drive home how truly disgusting he can be, the episode ends with one final punch to the gut. Ed would ask Liz to have a private conversation with him, supposedly to resolve some of their issues, and Liz, being the person she is, actually agrees. She follows him out for a car ride after the studio, probably hoping for some kind of closure or honest communication, but while all of this is happening, Big Ed is simultaneously talking to the cameraman, bragging that he's still going to have sex with Liz that very same night.
I'm gonna grab my stuff. I don't know what's gonna happen tonight. I mean, I'm thinking about whether I'm gonna wanna have sex with her or not. It's probably not a good idea.
Is that gonna stop you?
Probably not.
Stay classy, Ed. Truly, this is why everyone loves you. From what I understand, this private talk went absolutely nowhere and the two remained broken up. At least that's what everyone thought at the time. The truth is still pretty murky and the whole story hasn't been fully explained to us. What we do know is that not long after the season aired, the public finally hit its breaking point. A petition started circulating calling for TLC to remove Big Ed from the network entirely after everything that had come to light, especially this infamous unhinged phone call that leaked online.
I'll always love you, but I can't be with you.
Are you done? Because I've been sitting around the corner from your house from the second I clocked out.
I don't give a fuck, Liz. You're fucked up. Fuck you, dude. You're fucked up.
Stop speaking to me like this, Ed. Stop!
For you to even offer to give a coworker a ride home to El Cajon, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I called you and asked you, and you said...
I don't give a fuck.
Then why did you say yes?
Fuck you.
Why did you say okay?
Fuck you. Fuck you. You are fucked up in the head. If I would have said no, you would have freaked out. Oh, you're jealous or whatever. But what right do you have to ask me?
What right do you have to get back together with me and go to clubs in Vegas?
This petition was actually signed and shared on Instagram by Liz herself. This made it crystal clear that the public opinion had shifted hard against him. Big Ed was no longer a lovable train wreck, but despite a growing number of fans that wanted him gone, this petition ultimately led to nowhere. With all of this in mind, you could say that everyone who got involved in this mess came out of it worse off, except of course TLC, which was definitely the one entity in this entire freak show that walked away absolutely thrilled. After all, if their main star ended up single again, that meant only one thing: they could drag him back for another season on 90 Day the Single Life, and you just know the producers were practically bursting with happiness. So of course, the moment the dust settled, they were already preparing the next chapter of this circus. And speaking of which... As with the previous season, Big Ed once again became the centerpiece of YouTube commentary the moment the show wrapped up, only this time creators had even more ammunition to work with. People were finally starting to realize that this guy isn't just quirky and awkward, but also kind of an awful person. On the contrary, his cameo side hustle didn't suffer any consequences. If anything, it exploded in popularity. The message was clear: The worse his behavior got, the more people paid to see what kind of unhinged nonsense he'd say next. As for him and Liz, there isn't anything solid to confirm what actually happened immediately after that disastrous reunion episode. There were tons of rumors floating around, but nothing can be verified with certainty. Apparently, they did get back together for a short while, because people claimed to have seen them out in public afterward. Nevertheless, not long after, Big Ed was back on the dating market like nothing had happened. So where does this whole mess go next? Let's fast forward about 6 weeks after their breakup, right at the beginning of season 2 of The Single Life. The biggest twist at this point was the fact that Big Ed finally decided to remove that abomination from his head and get an actual haircut. In his opening monologue, he proudly declares that he's done with dating people in their 20s, and sure, that does sound like a step in the right direction, but the age gap was never the real reason his relationships fell apart. The problem wasn't the number on the ID, it's the guy oversharing private life in front of a camera, crying on cue, and blowing up romantic connections like it's a sport. Anyway, we follow him into what's supposed to be his fresh start. Unfortunately, he spends half the episode reminiscing about Liz like he's still emotionally tangled up in her, which immediately kills any idea that he's truly moved on.
Having sex with Liz, it became one of the most amazing nights of my life. I never given a woman multiple orgasms in my life, and yeah, I did that.
For reasons that only the producers understand, we're subjected to the visual tragedy of watching this man shower and get ready for his date. Soon enough we meet Mia, his 42-year-old date whom he met at a friend's gathering. Surprise, surprise, she seems genuinely kind and normal, which immediately raises the question, what on earth is she doing with Big Ed of all people? Inevitably, the topic of past relationships comes up, and this TLC star proudly announces that he broke up with his last girlfriend around 8 times. And yes, he frames it like he was the one doing it every time, because of course he does.
Let's talk about relationships.
Okay, so I'm not good at them.
Mm-hmm.
And Liz, the last woman I dated, was 28. I make up and break up 8 times. Who does that?
8 times. Who did the breaking up? Wow.
And then, to pour salt on the wound, he finds out Mia is from New Jersey and immediately tries to mimic the accent. And yes, it's exactly as horrible as you're imagining.
So, where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in New Jersey.
Can I ask you a question?
What?
Please don't do this. You don't have to do this.
What's a Jersey girl doing in Vegas?
Oh.
I'm the motherfucking fucking one who calls the shots.
Unsurprisingly, a second date never happened, and that's probably for the best. Neither of them behaved like douchebags or anything, they just had absolutely zero chemistry. This means Ed is back to square one, and unfortunately for all of us, nowhere near finished with his love quest. After yet another failed attempt at dating, Ed sits down with his mom to talk about what kind of partner he should be looking for. It was in this moment that she hits him with the suggestion that he should find himself a Latina wife. Since she is from Mexico herself, she believes Latina women are more loyal and would make better wives. The thing that surprised me the most is that Ed actually takes this advice to heart. He doesn't hesitate for even a second and reaches out to one of his friends who happens to be in Mexico and basically asks her to set him up with someone. She agrees and connects him to a video call with a friend of hers, a woman named Kaori, and from that point on, she becomes Big Ed's brand new romantic target during this section of the show.
So, Laura tells me that you're single.
I'm single, very single.
Oh, gracias. Okay, Mas. I'm just kidding.
This whole introduction is predictably awkward. Kaori doesn't speak much English and Big Ed doesn't speak a single word of Spanish, yet they somehow manage to hold a friendly conversation. They stay in brief contact afterward, and because Ed is still Ed, he decides this is enough to justify flying to Mexico immediately to pursue a relationship. Of course, he brings his mom and his dog Teddy, because nothing says romantic getaway like dragging your mother and your senior dog to another country. Once in Mexico, they get settled into a resort, and after a slow morning, Big Ed heads to a restaurant to meet Kaori in person for the first time.
Hello, how are you? Oh my God. Huh?
The communication barrier is already a huge issue, so they end up clumsily relying on Google Translate. Just when the conversation finally starts to feel somewhat normal, the universe decides to throw in another layer of madness. Gunshots erupt outside the restaurant, meaning that everyone has to run for cover. Big Ed's dating life is truly some of the most fucked up content ever broadcasted on reality TV. Surprisingly, surviving a shootout does bring Big Ed and Kaori a bit closer together. In a morbid sense, this entire experience had a surprisingly positive silver lining. Of course, Big Ed can't leave well enough alone, because within hours of this terrifying event, he invites Kaori back to his hotel. That's when Big Ed dropped another classic move, because he announced that he was planning to bring his mother on the next meeting. Why on earth would he think that was a good idea? It's painfully obvious that he hasn't learned a single lesson from any of his past disasters. He's still rushing headfirst into relationships like there's no tomorrow. And that's how their first date officially wrapped up, a surprisingly calm ending immediately followed by a huge blunder. His brilliant plan to introduce his mother on the second date goes beyond just being premature, and so this cursed meeting actually took place at a park, and shockingly, the mother ended up having a better conversation with Kaori than Ed himself. In a way that does make perfect sense. She speaks Spanish, she's warm, and she wasn't behaving like an eager man-child trying to speedrun a relationship. Afterward, the pair spent some alone time wandering through a botanical garden, and for a moment you could almost convince yourself that this woman might genuinely have some feelings for Ed. Then again, I guess Mexico doesn't air 90 Day Fiancé, otherwise she would have immediately sprinted in the opposite direction. Unfortunately, Kaori didn't have the necessary knowledge, and she would even invite Ed to meet her family, and surprise surprise, she also has a child from a previous relationship. At this point, it's really hard not to notice the obvious pattern. This family gathering went as well as anyone could expect, given the chaos surrounding this unhinged Mexico trip. Despite all these meet and greets and bonding moments, there was still zero real sense that they were growing closer romantically. Even Ed started noticing the vibe shift. It's almost like this whole thing was going nowhere. And speaking of terrible decisions, this genius somehow managed to make things worse by showering Kaori's son with gifts on their first meeting, something even she found weird and uncomfortable.
Ed sacó los regalos, realmente pensé no era necesario, porque es muy material.
All things considered, it felt like it was finally time to end this charade, and so on their next date, Big Ed decides to pour gasoline on the fire by telling Kaori he wanted a romantic relationship with her. This led to yet another agonizing conversation where she told him, very gently, that she does have feelings for him, but relationships take time and they need to build something real before jumping into anything serious.
Me pareció bonito que Ed abriera su corazón hacia mí. Pero que una relación se construye y para construir se necesitan días, semanas, meses, años.
Naturally, instead of taking the hint, Ed kept pushing and pushing and pushing, which of course annoyed the hell out of his date.
Well, can I say something?
¿No puedes guardar silencio?
Sí.
After that colossal blunder, it was clear the game was over. There was no way to salvage this situation, but he tried anyway, this time by planning a trip that quickly turned into a complete catastrophe. He brought up marriage, again, and talked about wanting a deeper connection. At this point, I don't even need to tell you how she reacted, because you already know the script by heart.
I'm a little bit confused.
You are very insistente. Así que mejor te escucho y me quedo callada por el resto de la noche.
So I better listen to you and I'm quiet for the rest of the night.
Oh no, gringe!
Watching them sit at that dinner table gave me a weird sense of deja vu. It's like we've seen this exact scenario play out multiple times before, right down to the awkward silence and Big Ed's clueless face. Somehow, after all these social cues, he is still none the wiser at what is happening. The final nail in the coffin came the very next day, when Big Ed booked a yacht for a romantic sunset cruise. There was just one tiny problem. Kaori never answered him despite Ed spamming her phone like a desperate telemarketer trying to hit a sales quota. She completely ghosted his ass, and in the end, the grand romantic date on a yacht turned into Big Ed and his mom drifting across the water alone, which might be the funniest and saddest image this entire storyline has produced. And so, as expected, this man took all the wrong lessons from the entire situation. He didn't once stop to think, maybe I pushed too hard, or maybe I bulldozed every boundary that my potential partner was trying to set. Instead, he acted like the universe had wronged him personally. The simple fact is, if he's romantically interested in someone, his brain immediately goes into overdrive and he tries to force the connection instead of letting it grow naturally. After their final goodbye that happened off camera, that was finally it. Kaori vanished not just from Ed's life, but from the show entirely. This was the best decision she could have made, since the situation was nothing short of a tragedy. If this Mexico saga proved anything, it's that Ed isn't unlucky in love, he is the common denominator in every disaster he creates. The misery still wasn't over though, because back in the US he was hit with another blow. His dog, Teddy, unfortunately passed away. Teddy had been sick for a while, so sadly his death was something everyone knew was coming.
But the hardest part was, I had to pull myself together, and I had to wrap him in a blanket because I didn't want anybody to know that he died.
One thing that nobody can deny is that Big Ed genuinely loved that dog. He dragged him everywhere, from convenience stores to dates to international trips, including the chaotic adventure in Mexico. The reason this moment is so important to the story is because it soon became the launchpad for the absolute clusterfuck that was about to unfold. While grieving, Big Ed received a bouquet of flowers from someone he knew, along with a message offering condolences. He reached out to this person to say thanks, which in the end turned into a date. A date that was filmed on camera. A date that would wrap up his final appearance on the Single Life Season 2.
And that person is my girlfriend, Liz.
Oh no! Yes, it was Liz. The same Liz who swore up and down during the reunion that she was done with him forever. The same Liz who watched him cry fake tears on TV and then run off to Las Vegas to party with his sugar babies. That Liz. Not only were they seeing each other again, they were engaged.
I am engaged.
We're engaged!
Sorry, but what the actual fuck is happening here? There is so much to unpack in this revelation that it practically requires a flowchart. It's really impossible to understand how these two ended up back together, and the most disturbing part is how fast this reconnection happened. Let's break it all down using some math. This segment of the show was filmed roughly 2 weeks after Big Ed returned from Mexico. In the episode, Liz says they'd been back together for 8 days at that point. 8 days. Which means that literally 1 week before their reunion, this Casanova was still whispering sweet nothings into Kaori's ear, telling her how she is the one, talking about marriage, acting like he finally found true love. And not even a week later, he's already proposing to another woman. I'm actually at a loss for words. How do you even process that level of emotional whiplash? And because Big Ed is the very embodiment of the word class, he made sure to brag on camera about how much he paid for the engagement ring, as if his fiancé were some kind of a hooker he could buy off the street.
The ring was worth every penny. 13,100 reasons for Liz not to leave me.
With that disturbing twist, the two are now engaged, marking the end of the Single Life Season 2. Naturally, this leads us into yet another unbearable reunion episode, one where every single person in the room is baffled as to why Liz keeps giving this man another chance. First off, another contestant by the name of Colt, who was never a big fan of Big Ed to begin with, something that was painfully obvious during the previous season's reunion, didn't hold back this time either. His mom, Debbie, also stepped up with some fiery commentary, meaning these two were practically the only people willing to call out Big Ed to his face, and there was a lot to call out.
Whoever you pay or is stupid enough to do it for free is like, hey, can you break up with my broad for me?
Well,
I just fucked her and left her. I don't want to write a long message, and my grammar ain't too good.
Liz, you got to wake up. And you're not in love with her. You're using her. You are desperate.
Who's not?
You're desperate.
Right out of the gate, the man of the hour tried pulling the victim card again, dragging his dead dog into the conversation.
Therapy. I lost, Teddy. Sorry.
And then came the biggest brain-melting moment of the entire episode. These two tried to convince everyone that all the times Big Ed broke up with Liz over text, 8 times according to their own account, that it wasn't actually coming from him. No, apparently it was someone else in his life sending those messages from his phone.
What I recently found out is anytime he broke up with me, it wasn't him messaging me.
It was somebody else writing it for me.
Yeah.
So, what they're really asking us to believe is that an unknown mystery gremlin was repeatedly sabotaging Big Ed's relationship by firing off breakup texts like some kind of unhinged fairy. It's quite possibly one of the most mentally deranged explanations ever offered on TLC, and you truly have to hear it with your own ears to grasp how insane it is. What's even more tragic is that Liz genuinely seems to believe this nonsense. The level of cope that is radiating off of these two is truly astonishing. Debbie, bless her soul, served another massive reality check straight to their faces.
Liz, were you aware that while those 6 months while he's getting his brain together, that he was out sniffing around for somebody that would appreciate him and say yes? The only reason he wasn't with those women is because they turned him down.
One of the other contestants also pointed out the obvious, that Big Ed bragging about the price of the engagement ring was basically him attempting to buy Liz's loyalty, which for some reason made Liz really angry.
It was really rude. I mean, you can say a lot of shit, but that was fucking rude.
The real question she should be asking herself is this: how the hell does Big Ed know she is the one this time? This is a man who was professing his love to Kaori in Mexico literally 1 week before reconnecting with Liz. A man who was ready to propose to a completely different woman, and then 8 days later he's suddenly soulmates with someone else? This is desperation on steroids. Big Ed will latch onto any woman who gives him attention for more than 5 minutes, and relationships built on that kind of delusion will always crash and burn. We could say that the fallout of this disaster was already happening, because you may have noticed that Big Ed's mother and daughter were nowhere to be seen in this reunion episode. The reason behind it is because they want nothing to do with this situation. His relationship with his family is strained as hell, since they all think this engagement is a terrible idea. Even one of his friends who did show up in the episode openly disapproved of this whole thing. Big Ed even said out loud that he's choosing Liz over everyone else in his life. He's so deep in this mess that he's ready to burn every bridge he has just to keep this chaotic relationship alive.
I've chosen Liz over everyone, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to turn my back on my daughter or my mom, and if they want to turn their back on me, that's up to them.
That same friend then dropped a massive reality check that basically summed up this entire circus.
Rich, do you think Ed and Liz are a good couple?
I think they're actually meant for each other, honestly.
Why, Rich?
Because they're both insecure and they're both selfish. And it's a perfect match.
So what is the takeaway here? It is clear that we are looking at a massive rabbit hole. What we see on camera, the blow-ups, the manipulation, is just the tip of an iceberg made of pure dysfunction. Whatever actually led to this rekindled relationship, whatever is going on off camera, it's impossible to understand. At this point, your guess is as good as mine. And with that, Big Ed's time on 90 Day the Single Life officially came to an end. All that was left was to place him carefully into yet another TLC spin-off and squeeze even more juice out of this human orange. Since Ed technically found love again and is now engaged, the big question was where would TLC shove him next to keep milking this train wreck. By the end of 2022, the answer arrived in the form of 7th season of 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After, yet another spin-off designed to follow him and Liz as they attempt to get married under even more chaotic, drama-ridden circumstances. In retrospect, this season might showcase some of the worst behavior Big Ed ever displayed on camera, and you'll see why soon enough. First off, they bring a new dog into the household to fill the void left by Teddy. For a brief moment it actually seems wholesome, but that tiny bubble of peace pops almost immediately because the tense situations start rolling in pretty fast. Take this venue visit for example. Liz brought 2 of her friends along for the tour, and something that surprised absolutely no one was that they also didn't support this relationship, and they sure as hell weren't shy about saying so.
There was 8 breakups.
Yeah.
There was 8 freaking breakups. That's a lot of breakups.
It's a lot of breakups.
So what's gonna make it different this time?
Good question.
If you look behind the cynicism, they raised some legitimate questions about this wedding, like who is even going to attend their engagement party. Considering the last reunion episode, where Big Ed said some harsh words for both his mother and his daughter, combined with the fact that he's still not on good terms with either of them, the answer to that question might be something depressing. His mother isn't even answering his calls anymore, which paints a pretty bleak picture. If you remember Rich, one of the very few people still willing to stay in contact with Big Ed, even he would catch some heat very soon. His disapproval of the relationship was enough to set off yet another wave of unnecessary drama.
If you walk across the street and you got hit by a car once, wouldn't I say, hey Ed, are you sure you want to cross this fucking street again?
I'm choosing her over everyone. My mom doesn't accept her. My daughter doesn't accept her.
What about your mom right now?
Slowly but surely, Big Ed is pushing away basically everyone who genuinely cares about him. What's more, that's the least of our concerns right now, because we still have to watch these 2 lovebirds try to build up this newfound romance, and during this phase, some pretty fucked up personal issues came to the spotlight. At one point, the topic of having kids comes up, and Liz reveals that after her first daughter, she had 2 miscarriages, leaving her with only 1 functioning tube. In other words, getting pregnant again is now a legitimate medical risk. This was an incredibly sad moment, and for once, Big Ed actually managed to read the room and react accordingly. Unfortunately, that brief moment of awareness didn't last long. Later in that same episode, the inner creep comes right back out in full force. You might have forgotten that this man is a professional photographer, one of the few areas where he's actually been successful. So when one of Liz's friends, Alex, who happens to be a model, asked him for a photo shoot, things went down the predictably horrible route. During the meetup, all of the familiar, worrying behaviors start to show themselves, like when Ed is blatantly flirting with her friend while completely sidelining Liz, who is trying to learn something about photography. This turns into yet another argument, right in front of Alex for that matter, who's just standing there watching this happy couple turn a minor disagreement into a full-blown fight.
It looks like she has no neck.
No, it doesn't.
Well, like here. I mean, that's just my thought. It looks like...
Yeah, don't ever say that in front of her. You're not here to critique my work. I'm trying to teach you what I'm doing.
I'm not critiquing. I'm trying to tell you what I like.
Right.
Embarrassing doesn't even scratch the surface of what is on my mind right now. And of course, all of this ends with a flimsy, half-assed apology that fixes absolutely nothing. After a very brief moment of peace, the cracks start widening again, marking the beginning of a steep downhill ride that will inevitably end in yet another disaster. You can already measure the scale of this upcoming fallout just by listening to how they talk about their relationship. Take the conversation Liz has with her friend Alex, for example. During this meeting, a lot of uncanny stuff comes to light, like how Ed keeps showing Liz old photos of herself when she was much thinner, asking if she'd consider looking like that again. Which is a mind-blowing suggestion, considering that he himself looks like those fucking disgusting ogres from Dark Souls 2.
Asian women age like a bottle of wine, and they're sweet.
Where does this man even get the confidence to ask something like that? And what's worse, it doesn't even stop here. Around this time, Liz posts a deeply disturbing message on Instagram saying she's tired of being criticized and can't wait to get fired and be single again. She deleted it later, so it was probably written in a moment of pure frustration, but the level of emotional exhaustion bleeding through her words is impossible to ignore. Her physical looks also reflect this. She constantly looks worn out, a stark contrast to the more vibrant version of her when she first appeared on the show. Meanwhile, Big Ed continues to operate with a shocking lack of self-awareness. On top of everything, both his mother and daughter are still giving him absolute radio silence despite his desperate attempts to contact them. That is especially alarming, considering that the engagement party is right around the corner. Hopefully, he'd get a chance to cool off and reset his brain a bit, because Liz decided it was time for him to meet her grandparents, people who, for all intents and purposes, are basically her parents since they are the ones who actually raised her. You can probably imagine everyone's shock when, within seconds of greeting them, Big Ed decides it's the perfect moment to make a joke about how he and Liz are having sex on multiple occasions.
So what have you guys been up to?
I know one thing they got
What
up
kind
to.
of mischief?
Hey, we've been making love. I'm just kidding.
Even if you ignore that horrifically inappropriate comment, it's pretty clear that her grandparents, especially her grandfather, are not thrilled about this engagement. They express real, thoughtful concerns about their future, concerns that Liz tries desperately to smooth over, but the skepticism on their faces says everything. It's almost tragic that everyone in these people's lives can see the obvious incoming divorce, everyone except them. These concerns become more justified by the time the godforsaken engagement party rolls around. Shockingly, the evening actually starts pretty well. Big Ed's family is nowhere to be found, obviously, but Liz's mother offers some genuine words of support.
You have taken care of her, and you have brought my baby girl back from a dark, dark place.
For a brief moment, the atmosphere is warm, the drinks are flowing, the party is going great, and it absolutely boils my blood that this gremlin still manages to destroy everything with just a few sentences over the dumbest shit imaginable.
So the party's kind of wrapping up, and I see a friend of Liz grab her by the arm. I know her. She's a lesbian, and this looks like an emotional fight.
I will try to explain what actually happened even though the details are fuzzy. Apparently, there was a certain female guest present at the party who, at some point, pulled Liz aside to start a conversation. We still don't know what they actually talked about, but what we do know is that this conversation soon turned into a massive fight to a point where even security had to step in and remove the female guest. Supposedly, this person is a lesbian and an old friend of Liz, and everyone thought this might be one of the reasons behind the emotional confrontation. Anyone looking from the outside would see this situation for what it is, a messy moment caused by one guest who was out of line. End of story. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case for Ed. His insecurity started oozing out of every pore of his red, sweaty head. Because this friend was gay, he instantly jumped to jealousy. He was so jealous, in fact, that instead of waiting until the next morning, or literally any private moment, he decided he needed to confront Liz about it right there at the engagement party.
We got a relationship.
Seriously?
That's what it looked like.
Seriously?
Later.
Oh, yourself.
No.
No,
Baby.
go have fun if that's what you're gonna think.
Understandably, Liz absolutely lost her shit and stormed out of the building. And when I say she stormed out, I don't mean she took a breather and came back. I mean she ran out and left the entire event. What followed was a full emotional breakdown on camera, with Big Ed calling her over and over while simultaneously telling the camera crew that she was the problem, that she was the drunk one, that she was out of control.
I think that Liz is drunk, and she's not thinking. So I'm trying to call Liz. She's not picking up the phone. I'm worried about her safety. That's all I'm worried about.
The level of gaslighting on display should be studied in psychology classes. When he finally got Liz on the phone, he started berating her, telling her she ruined the night for her mom and grandmother and that she was the one out of line.
Liz, you're ruining the entire evening for your mom, for your grandma. You are out of control. You're drunk.
Shut the up.
Liz, you're embarrassing yourself.
I'm not embarrassing myself.
The argument that followed was devastating, and Liz would even throw away her engagement ring. An absolute catastrophe of a night, one that, unbelievably, started out quite decent, and it all could have been avoided if fragile egos and 10-year-old emotional maturity were not running the show. If you remember, these two geniuses live in the same house, so it wasn't exactly hard to predict that they'd run into each other pretty damn fast. And by fast, I mean the camera crew was still in the house when Liz finally came home.
Liz, she was a lesbian that you were in a relationship with. She got physical with you.
When?
And you denied it.
When?
You tell me. Liz, when we split up, you were both men and women. I don't want to argue with you anymore.
Show me proof.
I don't want to argue with you
Show
anymore.
me proof, Ed.
No matter whose side you personally lean towards, whether you think Big Ed's at fault for accusing his fiancé of the dumbest shit imaginable, or you think Liz's reaction was too explosive, this entire confrontation inside their home exposed Ed as pathetic, insecure man-child. It's truly hard to figure out what his actual issue even is. He keeps insisting that Liz must have had something romantic with her friend in the past and never told him, or that maybe she still has something going on right now, which makes zero sense considering Liz literally threw that friend out of the party when things got physical. That alone should have told Big Ed all he needed to know. He then escalates the whole thing even further by straight up asking Liz if she is a lesbian.
Are you a lesbian?
I have no physical attraction to any females. Period.
Why? Why the fuck would he even say that? It's almost like he's desperately searching for a reason to sabotage his own relationship. This actually made me develop a theory, which is that this man doesn't actually want to get married. Subconsciously, he knows he gets bored the second a woman actually gives him a real chance. So instead, he keeps manufacturing drama to avoid walking down the aisle, all while milking this circus for more airtime. I could talk about this for hours, but we need to shift our focus back to this fight, because this is the point where the confrontation hits its boiling stage.
Why do you hang out with people you shouldn't hang out with?
I'm not hanging out with anybody because you know what? You don't let me hang out with anybody.
Because they're all trashy.
Liz starts revealing even more controlling behavior her fiancé has been displaying off camera, and Big Ed responds, you guessed it, with his trademark brand of gaslighting. My personal favorite moment is when he insists he doesn't call Liz fat, he just gives her positive hints.
And I also eat pie, and I have a sweet tooth. I'm overweight too.
You could even fit into your. Am I overweight, Ed?
Liz, why are you using the
Am I overweight?
No. I've never called Liz fat. I'll drop positive hints.
The nerve on this man is something truly extraordinary. Even after all of this, he's still obsessively ranting about Liz's supposed sexual orientation, even though she explained herself about 15 different times.
I love you, I want to marry you, but until I get every single question answered, I'm not going to marry you.
What's your question?
The woman that the altercation that you had grabbed, were you in a physical relationship with her?
To make things even more ridiculous, I stumbled across a Reddit post supposedly written by the partner of the lesbian friend in question. According to them, the entire situation was a stupid misunderstanding that spiraled into unnecessary drama, which is exactly what most of us already concluded without even needing the extra evidence. Whether the post is real or not, it just highlights how dumb this whole situation truly is. Back to our lovebirds, after the screaming, gaslighting, accusations floods and total emotional implosion, their fight ends the night, with their relationship on extremely shaky ground. At this point, cancelling the wedding was a real possibility, something that probably would have been the best outcome for everyone involved. It's almost comical how these two managed to bring out the absolute worst in each other. After things finally cooled down a little, Liz came to the obvious realization that she had left the $13,000 engagement ring in some random person's bushes during her meltdown. So naturally, she had to drag herself back out there in the middle of the night to find it, which she eventually did. Believe it or not, in the morning, Big Ed decides to bring up the same bullshit again about Liz potentially dating women and secretly being gay. He doesn't just mention it, he starts yet another argument, once again being combative and completely unreasonable.
When we first got together, you told me that you would be with a woman if it wasn't for me.
You broke my heart so bad that I didn't want to have another breakup.
You drink to a point where you can't stand up.
Every single night.
I've never drank to the point where I can't stand up.
You told me when you were drunk the other night that you would rather sleep with Alex her than me.
At this point, I am beyond flabbergasted. How many times do we need to repeat the same tired points before the obvious truth sticks in that walnut-sized brain of his? Here is the part that really fries my circuits. Everything Liz is being accused of is microscopic compared to the shit Big Ed does. This is the same guy who immediately ran off with his sugar babies to Vegas the moment he broke up with Liz. The same guy who drunkenly joked that he would totally sleep with her friend Alex, the same Alex he met during the photo shoot. If anyone should be on trial here, it's him. Somehow, Big Ed still has the nerve, the audacity to cry at the end of the episode, as if he was the one wounded here, as if this whole disaster wasn't almost entirely his fault.
Yeah, we don't like to fight. Like, this sucks, but, Liz said a lot of things.
Try to put yourself in this situation for a moment. What would you do if you were stuck in a relationship this toxic, this chaotic, this emotionally draining? If your first instinct is to say I'd break up and run, well, according to our star couple, you'd be completely wrong, because clearly the solution to this mountain of issues is couples therapy. And so this therapy is exactly what we are forced to watch next. The conversations before and after their session really highlight just how much shit Liz has been through in her life. We always knew things weren't great, but the more she opens up, the more depressing it gets. She talks about being cheated in the past relationships, about periods where she literally had to sleep in her car. It paints a picture of someone who's been emotionally beaten down for so long that chaos feels normal. Maybe that's the reason why she keeps running back to Big Ed. In therapy, she admits she wanted to pick up more shifts at the restaurant where she works to save money, to feel secure, to avoid hitting rock bottom again. To everyone listening, that makes perfect sense. But then the real issue comes out. The reason she hasn't been working more is because Big Ed doesn't want her staying late.
Lately, I haven't tried to pick up any shifts because there's a conflict of kind of making Ed feel secure that I'm not out late or anything like that. So it's just hard.
I want Liz to work. I want Liz to have her own life. And I have to admit, based on the past, that Liz going back to work does scare me.
At the end of the day though, we have to give Liz some agency. She has every possible reason to throw this relationship into a dumpster, set it on fire and walk away without looking. But she doesn't. She keeps returning, she keeps trying, she keeps absorbing the blows and hoping that things will magically get better. No amount of couples therapy in the universe can fix something that was never built on solid ground in the first place. And while we are on the topic, it seems that their two dogs are also getting the fucking therapy now. Because apparently their behavior was so terrible that it created yet another strain on the people living in that house. Anyway, back to our two masterminds, they finally seem to be on a somewhat stable ground. For now at least. Naturally, Liz brings up the whole issue of her not working enough, and even though Big Ed still doesn't seem completely thrilled about the idea of her picking up more shifts, he tries to act supportive. In a way, it's weird seeing them have a normal conversation about their future without someone screaming or completely ruining the moment. We even get more footage of them hanging out, and by that I mean buying the most unnecessary stupid shit you can find on today's market to fill time and burn money. Today it's a massage table because they wanted a spa day at home. During this segment you just can't help it but ask, why was something like this even filmed? Liz is half naked on the table while Big Ed is massaging her, so wouldn't they be more comfortable if this was done in private? But just you wait, it gets much worse, because now it's Ed's turn and he starts into the room butt naked in front of the entire production crew, ready to get his own massage treatment. As if that wasn't enough, we were also forced to watch him getting his back hair ripped out with wax.
Okay. I love you.
Ow! Fuck. Oh my god, no! Holy shit. Okay!
For reasons I can't explain, I suddenly have the overwhelming urge to take the trash out. I don't know why, but my body is physically demanding me that I leave the room.
You're on a fucking show just talking about this shit.
Zato Kaiba super chatted $20. A guy named Alchemist Alkor made a 3-hour documentary-style video on Locale Live. It was as bad faith as possible, rolling on the floor and
Yes!
laughing
Let's go!
tears of
Remember
joy.
Dono. Yes! Yes! More
Fuck Alchemist
bad
Alkor.
faith. More
But
bad
he makes
faith.
more money than Alchemist Alcor's child support payments for all 18 years.
Then another brilliant idea enters the mix. Big Ed proposes having another engagement party, this time in his hometown in Arkansas, mostly because his family didn't attend the first one. Liz agrees, but she's clearly not thrilled about it, especially considering his own mother and daughter don't even support this marriage. In fact, they still don't even talk to him. Despite that massive issue that is still in the air, they would eventually travel to Arkansas. While he was recounting his early days, we got an even bigger glimpse into Ed's past, like how he was one of 6 kids, how his parents divorced, which eventually resulted in him moving to California with his mom, and so on. The words white trash was echoing through my mind while watching Ed strolling through his hometown in those hideous pink Crocs. For the love of God, take those abominations off your feet. Other than that, we also had a chance to meet his sister during dinner. This gave us yet another example of how normal and down to earth his family is, while Big Ed himself feels like he came from a completely different gene seed. And so the second engagement party was already underway. This might surprise you, but our comedian once again couldn't stop himself from cracking some stupid sexual joke.
Some things have, like last night at midnight. I'm just kidding.
I would like to LARP more about this gathering, but there isn't much to report. In short, here are some key takeaways. The mother and daughter were again a no-show. Meanwhile, Liz openly voiced concerns about this whole wedding to some of the women that were listening. After a final toast, the party came to an end, mercifully without another meltdown. The two of them spent a few more days hanging around Arkansas before finally heading back home. Overall, the trip was pretty uneventful, and that's probably for the best. There have already been more than enough incidents to last several lifetimes. The last thing anyone needed was yet another drama involving relatives. Don't get me wrong, more drama was absolutely on the way. The moment they returned to San Diego, new problems immediately started piling up. The biggest one involved Liz's ex-husband, who is in the military. He was being relocated, which created a massive issue because he had full custody of their daughter. If Liz were to take this to court, the odds were clearly stacked against her. 2 divorces already on her resume, a very public relationship with a man that can only be described as a failed lab experiment, and a chaotic on-screen life that anyone with a pulse could notice is in dire need of some stability. You could easily imagine a judge questioning her ability to provide the right environment for her child. In a shocking twist, Big Ed actually seemed supportive. He talked about creating a more stable home for his future wife and her daughter, and the two of them even went house hunting together. On paper, this sounded like a step in the right direction. Then came the worst part of any house tour: the price. The cost of a house that they really liked was more than $1 million.
So it's listed right now at 1.295.
But it's in a really great area too, don't forget.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Even with his cameo money rolling in, there is no universe where this man was expecting that number. You could see the reality check hit in real time, and suddenly they were in a very uncomfortable position. Liz suggested something entirely reasonable. Maybe they leave San Diego, find somewhere more affordable and start fresh. Again, shocking everyone, Ed agreed and was very supportive of the idea. At this point, all signs were pointing towards him almost behaving like a functioning adult. Unfortunately, that streak would end pretty fast, because he managed to blow it all up. Liz still wasn't working full-time, and if they were seriously considering buying a house, any additional income would obviously help. Of course, Big Ed threw a massive fit, because he didn't want his fiancée working until 1 AM, for reasons that only deeply insecure people understand.
I'm not going to understand that. I don't want you working till 1 AM. I'm sorry, I don't. And I'm never going to be okay with that.
It's a restaurant. I can't just work days.
Keep in mind, Liz is a restaurant manager, a position that requires long hours and an unconventional work schedule. But Big Ed set it as a boundary he doesn't want crossed.
Well, thank you for listening and understanding. And no job is more important than us.
What is even more infuriating is that he wrapped it up with a classic manipulative line, "No job is worth more than us," as if he isn't the single biggest obstacle preventing her from doing her job like a normal adult for absolutely no good reason. The manipulation has been there since day one and it never lets up. Now, don't get angry just yet, because it gets much worse. Sometime later, Liz had a meeting with her boss, who offered her the opportunity to become a part owner of the restaurant. This was understandably a huge deal.
And you proved yourself. I mean, you worked hard to get to this point. That's why I'm offering you to be a part owner of Encontro.
Oh my gosh.
Before we go any further, I should mention that a lot of people believe this offer was completely fake, possibly staged to promote the restaurant. For instance, the owner conveniently mentioned Big Ed by name on camera, and given how little Liz was working at the time, this whole thing does feel suspicious. That said, let's assume for a moment that it was real, because it plays a major role in what happens next. A promotion like that would obviously mean longer hours and more responsibility, so naturally there was only one person in this story who was guaranteed to have a problem with this. When Liz broke the news to Ed, it went exactly as you'd expect. First, he got irritated because the promotion meant they might not need to move out of San Diego after all. That was just the opening act. The real issue, of course, was that she'd be working more hours.
You came to me.
I know what I did.
You're like, I want to move. So then in my mind, I'm like, okay. And then I come here tonight and you're like, oh, by the way, they want to make me a partner, which it sounds like we're not moving. So it's like, okay, one day she's like, we're moving. And the next day, oh no, I got offered a partnership. So yeah, it does feel sort of like she is choosing her career over us. I think it's very selfish. I don't want you working 80 hours a week. That's what a partner does. I want a wife.
He tried to spin it as Liz choosing her career over their relationship, which is beyond ridiculous. This was, allegedly, a massive opportunity for her, and any rational person would dedicate more time to their job under those circumstances. Instead of supporting her, he once again treated it like a personal attack. He keeps inventing reasons for this relationship to fail, then acts shocked when everything falls apart. From what I understand, Liz ultimately would accept the offer, but whether the promotion was real or not, and how her role continued at the restaurant afterward, is still pretty unclear. The two of them would still get some airtime for the remainder of the season, but it was exactly as depressing as you'd expect. We had gems like Big Ed admitting he wasn't actually ready to get married after 2 engagement parties. Also, at one point, they briefly broke up, during which Big Ed told Liz she had less than a week to move out. Even after such gentleman behavior, she still took him back, so let's skip this bullshit and focus on what actually matters. the reunion episode. Somehow, against all odds, it managed to be more entertaining than the entire season. The amount of skeletons dragged out of the closet was nothing short of astonishing. Things that had only been hinted at before were now laid bare, and suddenly the messy picture we'd been piecing together became disturbingly clear. If the season itself was a slow, miserable grind, the reunion was the payoff.
I just wanted to confirm that Liz will not be accompanying me to Boston.
First things first, these two were still living separately after the already mentioned breakup, despite being, you know, fucking engaged. The reunion immediately zeroed in on the fact that he kicked his future wife out of the house, fully aware that she had nowhere else to go. Unsurprisingly, almost everyone on stage came at him with gloves off.
So Liz, did Ed kick you out?
He wants to say no.
I did not kick her out.
He told me this isn't
for 3
working.
months.
And at one point, he actually had his friend help pack all my stuff to move out.
No.
So yes, I was kicked out twice.
You want to marry her and you're engaged to her? You don't do that to someone.
Dude, it will happen to all of you. I'm telling you right now.
No.
Won't happen to me.
It will eventually happen to you where you guys are not getting along.
No, it's not going to happen because we're
And
not
you do the,
dickbags
you
like
do
that,
the
man.
respectful thing. Look,
Ed, we don't
I
run
told
from
her
it,
I
we deal
love
with
you.
it.
The whole situation put both Liz and Big Ed on edge, which quickly escalated into yet another live argument between the two. As always, horrible relationships that refuse to die are like stories in a book you keep reading from beginning to end. No matter how many times you go through it, or how convincing the story seems, the ending is always the same. During their short breakup, Big Ed once again demonstrated a staggering lack of concern for someone he supposedly loved by immediately jumping onto a dating app, specifically one aimed at Asian women.
I don't know if he's been seeing anybody else, but I know he was on a dating app.
How do you know?
I got a screenshot through Instagram.
She spies on me.
I got a screenshot through Instagram that my mom found. How am I spying on you when it's an Asian dating website?
Okay, so let's
Ed,
back.
you were on a dating.
Okay, let's
you were
back
on an
up. Let's
Asian
okay.
dating website.
Again,
When we
it
got
was
the
a year and a half
screenshot,
old,
my mom and I created an account, which was very hard to create an account.
which is kind of weird.
When this information came out, instead of owning it, he tried to flip the script by accusing his fiancé of spying on him. Because yes, clearly that was the real issue, and not the fact that he was desperately fishing for female attention while the corpse of his previous relationship wasn't even cold yet. When I think about it, even that analogy might be too generous, considering he was active on the dating app 1 hour after Liz had left the house.
But why?
It said he was active 3 hours.
You and your mom
Right.
set up a fake account
He
to
was
spy on me?
on it an hour after I left his house. We checked again the next day, and he was active 3 hours prior to that.
I want to see the receipts.
The disgust on everyone's faces said more than any of my commentary ever could. You should buckle up because there is more. At one point, the host asked whether Big Ed had been in contact with his ex-girlfriend from the Philippines, Rose. He tried to dodge the question, stumbling through a half-baked non-answer.
I would have to go back and look. I may have said hello. We're friends on Instagram.
But you don't remember if you have been in any kind of text conversation with her recently.
I may have. I don't remember.
That didn't last long, because Rose herself joined the reunion remotely, and to absolutely no one's surprise, she confirmed that they had been in contact at one point in time.
Ed always asking me for FaceTime. He want to video call with him to FaceTime.
So Ed said that he hasn't spoken to you at all, and then now he's saying he can't remember if he spoke to you.
I didn't.
That's not true.
To really drive the knife in, she produced screenshots of their messages that made his intentions painfully clear. He wasn't just being friendly, he was obviously trying to reconnect. Here is the real kicker. The last message between them was sent 1 day before he proposed to Liz. That was it. The jig was finally up. Of course, once this came out, his fiancé wanted some answers. After being kicked out of the house, after him immediately jumping on dating apps, after secretly messaging an ex in hopes of rekindling something, after humiliating her on national television in front of millions of people, what did this miserable sack of shit have to say for himself?
Peter, don't. They say if you watch that video, you die.
Ah, that's a lot of baloney.
Just said that you were in communication with her.
Liz, sit down. Jesus
Did
Christ.
he not just say that he hasn't spoken to her? Did you? Say yes or no. Did you or did you not just say, I have not spoken to her?
Me no speak English.
You know what? It's not something to joke about, Ed.
It is, because she's...
The word embarrassing doesn't even begin to cover it. Desperate, and I mean desperate, he once again tried to spin the entire situation back onto Liz. The lies, the manipulation, the uncontrolled thirst for attention, it was all on full display.
This is her. This is who Liz is.
She's reading the proof is in the pudding. She's reading the stupid text.
Tell me about that text.
Just
Tell me what
said,
about that text.
I've not spoken to her.
See?
You just lied
Hey,
to
Liz.
everybody right here.
After yet another massive blow-up, Liz finally seemed like she might be done for real. Sensing this, that old instinct of Big Ed's that makes him say the worst possible thing at the worst possible time kicked in, so our main star asked his fiancé in front of everyone to give him his ring back.
Let me have my ring back.
Oh.
Wow. Wow.
Even after everything was laid bare, he still didn't get it. For the rest of the episode, he kept pushing the narrative that he was hurt because everyone on stage was against him and because his fiancé wouldn't take his side.
But you just need to know where I was at today. I was drowning. And I felt like you were stepping on my head. And the one person I wanted to count on and stand beside me, right or wrong, and I thought that was you.
But I can't do that when it was a lie.
The same woman he had repeatedly disrespected, lied to, and publicly humiliated. All of these are his actions that turned the entire room against him in the first place. Either he's completely disconnected from reality, or he's on some pharmaceutical-grade copium. Probably both. They had one final private conversation on camera, and in many ways it was the same tired routine. Fake remorse, self-pity, and him positioning himself as the real victim at her expense. This time though, Liz wasn't having it. She walked out and refused to entertain any more of his bullshit. That of course led to even more arguments with everyone else on set. The night was an absolute catastrophe. Fast forward to the next day and we get their final appearance of the season. If Big Ed thought a good night's sleep would make his co-stars more forgiving, he was dead wrong. The moment he walked into the studio, they were already on his back.
Kimberly, you seem to think that your shit doesn't stink.
Oh,
and
no,
it
my
does.
shit stinks.
Well,
Believe me.
well, why don't you own it?
I do own
and
it.
You're so quick to judge me.
Oh, no.
In an attempt to defend himself, he went straight back to his tactics like deflection, denial, and outright lying. When confronted again about the dating apps, he vehemently denied using them. That lasted about 30 seconds until Liz pulled out her phone and proved he'd been active on a dating site 2 hours before the show.
Before.
I created that a year and a half ago. My bio is when Teddy was alive.
When I created my own account.
I wasn't active. I haven't, I'm telling you right now, I swear to God, I was never on the website. If I was on a dating app, I would know that.
It said last active 2 hours ago.
I'll tell you right now, it's not me.
At that point, there was really nothing left to say. Toward the end, she spoke with some of the other women from the cast who practically begged her to walk away and end this toxic cycle. When Big Ed attempted one last private conversation, she shut it down completely, and just like that, everyone went their separate ways. After the dust settled, the relationship appeared to be well and truly dead, and how could it not be? These two people shouldn't even be in the same room. That said, public opinion towards Liz also began to shift. After forgiving so many unforgivable actions, some people started to question her motives, wondering whether she was staying just for clout and enjoying the spotlight. Big Ed is undeniably a bad person, but it's also fair to say that continuing to enable this mess doesn't come without consequences. Still, after this episode, most viewers and pretty much everyone on YouTube believed this was finally it, the end of the road, no more chances, no more reconciliations. So the question remains, can we finally say that this is truly the end for a complete disaster that is this sham of a relationship? To answer that, let me introduce you to 90 Day The Last Resort, which is yet another TLC reality series that aired in 2023. The premise is simple and kind of unhinged. Iconic couples from the 90 Day Fiancé universe are sent on a group retreat to a tropical location where they're supposed to undergo intense therapy to fix issues like trust, intimacy, communication, and many other deeply rooted problems. At the end of this emotional pressure cooker, the partners are meant to decide whether they'll finally commit to each other or walk away for good. And you will never fucking guess who TLC decided to drag into this calamity as one of the featured couples.
Moving in general is stressful, but moving halfway across the country together into a new house, it's going to be, challenging in every way.
It is beyond belief to watch what is actually happening here. If you were ever wondering why people started accusing Liz of clout chasing, this is exactly where those accusations come from. Other than chasing relevance, what possible explanation is there for her to still be participating in this charade? At the same time, it's just as hard to understand why Big Ed keeps trying to revive this relationship. All things considered, he clearly isn't ready to commit to anyone, let alone marry Liz. From my personal note, it was genuinely difficult to write a script that properly explains how The Last Resort fits into the broader saga. That's because the show itself was never a real therapy. It wasn't designed to heal anyone. It was just more reality TV bullshit we saw a million times wrapped in prettier packaging. This series pretended to be about growth, but in actuality it rewarded the loudest, most toxic behavior with even more screen time. Also, let's not pretend that everyone there had only minor flaws, because a lot of the cast was straight up unbearable. Angela in particular was by far one of the most irritating, brain-rotting personalities I have ever seen on television.
Look who's here. That lying son of a bitch. This ain't gonna be good. Yara, shut up. You have no, you don't know what I do.
Sit down and respect
Why don't you
us.
sit me
You
down,
are
bitch? Sit me
unrespectful.
down.
Sit
Me down.
The therapy sessions themselves were shallow at best and nonsensical at worst. They lacked structure or any real depth. Couples who clearly should not have been together under any circumstances were instead forced to work things out on camera, which only amplified the dysfunction and humiliation. Nothing was being resolved, everything was being exploited. As for Big Ed, he was exactly who he's always been. He continued his long-standing pattern of control and gaslighting, which only led to more fights with Liz. At one point, he was so petty that he even cheated during one of the exercises for couples, an activity meant to demonstrate trust and coordination just so that he could win.
Down. There you go.
Good, Molly, good.
Right? Stop, slow down. Right? That. I think he can see.
The irony, of course, was that he missed the entire point of the said exercise, which feels like a perfect metaphor for his entire presence on this show. Unsurprisingly, other couples eventually turned against him, and that says a lot, considering the room was already packed with dysfunctional people. In a nutshell, this is The Last Resort in its bare, shameless form, so there is no need to dwell on this subject anymore. So fast forward to the final episode, after even more meltdowns and fights, Big Ed and Liz still chose to stay together.
You take really good care of Riley. And I see the love that you have for her. You connect to her in ways that somehow I don't seem to connect to her.
In a completely hollow commitment ceremony designed by the showrunners, they decided to move forward, somehow still clinging to the idea of marriage. As you can see, after everything we had watched, everything that had happened, it was right back to square one. This brings us to what could be best described as the last piece of the puzzle, the final real appearance of these two clowns on TLC reality TV in the form of yet another season of 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After. At the start of this season, the wedding date was only 2 months away, and both of them were talking like this time it was really going to happen. They had also moved into a larger house in Big Ed's hometown in Arkansas, which was a big decision, especially for Liz, considering her daughter Riley was now living with them for that summer. On paper, this was them trying to play house for real, building a family, planning a wedding, jungling finances, and pretending they were finally on stable ground. But if there is one constant in this entire story, is that pressure never creates positive environment, it creates cracks. And sure enough, those cracks started forming almost immediately. For example, Ed began nitpicking Liz and Riley over something as trivial as making a breakfast and leaving a mess, turning it into a petty argument.
You guys are making a mess.
Baby, you need to just chill. We just put the flour.
I know, but you guys are so messy.
Baby, it's just a little bit
move,
right
move,
here.
just move.
Have you not seen yourself cook pasta? It's a little bit of
I
flour.
don't make this big of a mess.
Watching a grown man bicker with his fiancée over a spilled flour while her kid sits there absorbing every second of it was deeply concerning. Unfortunately, things got even more uncomfortable when Liz went shopping for a wedding dress with her mother and grandmother. Both women again voiced their concerns about the upcoming marriage, and unlike casual skepticism from friends, this came from people who clearly loved Liz and were genuinely worried. So you could say she took those words pretty hard. Those grievances were about to take a far more direct and explosive turn during the upcoming 4th of July celebration where both families were invited. Among the guests was Big Ed's mother, who surprisingly seemed willing to finally bury the hatchet. Tiffany, on the other hand, remained hostile, which isn't shocking when you consider that her dad was still preparing to marry someone younger than she is. Back to the point, during the party, Liz's mom and Big Ed sat down for a private conversation to address the unresolved issues still hanging over the situation like a stormy cloud. It was painfully clear that the mother does not believe this relationship is healthy for her daughter. More specifically, she doesn't think this gremlin is good for her, though she delivered that message in the most polite, restrained, and diplomatic way possible.
Now, I may still be on the fence at the moment, but again, I know that there are two sides to every argument.
Somehow, despite all of these problems, she still gave Ed yet another chance, and just like clockwork, he proceeded to blow it up in the most spectacular way possible, pulling what is easily described as his biggest stunt yet, and the one that will finally send this already crumbling relationship into oblivion. After the 4th of July party, Big Ed and Liz got into yet another argument during dinner because Ed told her daughter to stop being a baby after she complained that her food was too spicy. The very next day, and I'm not exaggerating here, Big Ed cancelled the wedding entirely. No discussion, no warning. He didn't even tell Liz herself.
Later, after the fight, I go to bed, I wake up, and he's gone. Then yesterday, I received a text message from our officiant telling me how sorry he was that the wedding was called off.
She found out when the wedding organizer messaged her about the cancellation. To make things even worse, he didn't even bother to explain anything afterward because he was completely radio silent. This radio silence lasted for days and Liz was left completely confused, especially since this fight didn't even register on the scale of conflicts they had already survived. Compared to their past problems, this was nothing, which makes his reaction beyond extreme. Big Ed eventually showed up on camera and tried to justify himself, but his reasons were painfully obvious cop-outs.
The other night, Liz blew up at me in front of you, and then it just snowballed. I was just looking at you going, I wanted to tell you this is how she is. The fact that she blew up in front of you guys, it just really hurt my feelings.
It was crystal clear that he had never been sure about this marriage in the first place and was now grabbing onto the flimsiest excuse imaginable to cancel it. At one point, he finally noticed what everyone else had seen from the beginning. These two are not meant to be together. Ending this was the obvious solution. The only problem is that this realization came a bit fucking late if you ask me. It's almost insane that this was the breaking point considering everything they had already been through. Just why now? Why this moment in particular? And even if he had finally reached some sort of clarity, Liz was still owed an explanation. Especially after the absolutely disrespectful and frankly disgusting way he sidelined her, destroyed their wedding plans on his own and then ignored her for 3 whole days. Even after all of this, inside this man's completely fucked up and distorted mind, he still managed to frame himself as the victim.
I know if I continue down this path and marry her, Liz, I'm gonna be miserable for the rest of my life. And I don't want to be divorced. it would be a nightmare. It wouldn't be a good thing for her or for me. Especially for me.
To put a cherry on top of this entire situation, Ed would eventually text Liz to meet him at a bar in an hour.
You haven't spoke to me in 3 days. I don't know what.
Spoke to me in 3 days, and I've been home. All of a sudden, you just text me
Liz, Saturday night you blew up in front of my sister and my family.
Right now, we're trying to just this conversation.
No.
As if ghosting someone for days and cancelling their wedding behind their back isn't already unhinged enough, he expected her to drop everything and show up on a short notice in a bar of all places to hash things out. Liz, quite reasonably, called him to ask whether he sustained some kind of brain damage during his absence, because no sane person would suggest something so retarded. As you might expect, she didn't show up at that meeting, which made this human bowling ball upset. At some point, they did finally manage to see each other eye to eye, and if you were expecting some kind of massive blowout or dramatic explosion, I hate to disappoint, but that's not what happened. There was nothing said there that hasn't already been said a dozen times before.
I want you to know that I think I've been kind of just looking for an excuse.
To call off the wedding?
Big Ed admitted that he wasn't really sure about the marriage and had essentially been waiting for an excuse to back out, while Liz rightfully reprimanded him for the way he handled the entire situation. There were plenty of tears, a lot of emotional exhaustion, and a lot of empty words. After such a long, draining, and frankly exhausting chapter, this was finally it. During a camera interview, Big Ed even had the audacity to say that he did all of this because he was falling out of love with his fiancé and wanted to end things in the least painful way possible.
You know, as hard as it is on Liz, you know, I wanted to take the least painful approach.
This definitely wasn't the least painful way.
That statement is so ridiculous it almost sounds like a joke. Once everything was officially over, it was time to fully separate. That meant Liz moving out, packing up her belongings and returning to San Diego. When she and her mom went back to the house to collect the remaining items, they found the place in complete disarray. Calling it a mess would be generous. Pigsty is far more accurate description. In some way, it felt like a visual metaphor for Big Ed himself. The way he treats his home is exactly how he treats his relationships. On top of that, he couldn't resist the opportunity to spark one last argument for absolutely no reason.
I didn't expect two for the price of one, I'm gonna be told.
Well, maybe you should have been a man.
Well, maybe you should have done a better job raising your daughter.
Oh, I did a fantastic job raising my daughter. That's why
you
you're
sure
out.
have.
Get out of our face, Ed. Please let us pass.
That's why you abandoned her.
Get out.
And with that, Big Ed and Liz were officially over, for real this time. No ambiguity, no maybe later, no door left open. It ended on a deeply sour note, fitting for a relationship that had been toxic from the very start. But not everything was as grim as it might seem, because there was still one final reunion episode left to cover. As you would expect, the guests were absolutely blasting Ed for his repeated behavior and the way he treated Liz's mom during the move out. I could show you the clips, but we've all seen this story play out before. If there is one silver lining in all of this, it was that Liz revealed her new boyfriend named Jason.
Please welcome Jason.
Hi, Jason! JJ!
He was welcomed with a standing ovation, which should tell you everything you need to know. A man no one knew anything about was instantly considered miles better for Liz than Big Ed ever was. Jason came across as completely normal, decent and respectful, qualities that, apparently, were enough to make him beloved immediately. Big Ed tried to be snarky about it, but all he really managed to reveal was how bitter and jealous he still was.
Jason, don't sweep things under the rug. You better deal with the issues or you'll be sitting here just like I am.
We've had arguments, like I just said. It's not a big deal. We approach them. We're not immature. We're both grown adults.
For all her flaws and questionable decisions, Liz dodged a radioactive bullet. And with this episode, at least for now, TLC and Big Ed finally parted ways. An ending that feels not just appropriate, but long overdue. You are probably wondering what actually happened to our stars after their final season. As far as Big Ed is concerned, he never really disappeared from the public eye after leaving 90 Day Fiancé. Instead, his life shifted away from non-stop TLC drama into a strange mix of reinvention, side hustles and the same old relationship chaos. Professionally, he tried to rebrand himself multiple times. He earned a real estate license and became an agent in Northwest Arkansas. Apparently, he was performing so well that he became one of the top agents for his firm. He also launched his own wine brand called Big Ed Malbec after purchasing a vineyard. There were some plans for a home renovation reality TV show, but that project however never moved forward. On top of that, Big Ed continued to make serious money on Cameo, where he remained one of the platform's top earning reality TV personalities. Financially and professionally, you could argue that he found ways to stay relevant and profitable after TLC. Romantically though, nothing really changed. In 2024, he briefly got engaged to a fan just 24 hours after meeting her, only to call it off almost immediately. In 2025, he stirred speculation again with flirty social media posts featuring another woman, Lena Skruvenik, though it's still unclear whether that ever turned into anything serious. Overall, Big Ed's post 90 Day Fiancé life shows growth in career but very little emotional development. New ventures, same relationship problems. Liz, unfortunately, had a much tougher path. After the show, she moved to Seattle with Jason and tried to rebuild her life. At one point, she was diagnosed with stomach cancer, which naturally sparked a wave of rumors and speculation, especially as people started to notice her significant weight loss. The only encouraging words left to say are simple ones: stay on the path of progress and don't repeat the same mistakes. Given everything she's been through, I think Liz herself would probably agree.
Jason, don't sweep things under the rug. You better deal with the issues or you'll be sitting here just like I am.
You have taught me to laugh again. You have supported me. And I just want to let you know that you're not unnoticed.